Can you spot something odd in this image? Yep, this little guy is just a wannabe. Will you be able to find the fork that's different from the rest? Here it is. Its tines are way shorter than those of its fellow forks. How long will it take you to find the glove that doesn't have a pair? But of course, here it is. Wow, that was fast. Now let's make it trickier. Which snowflake is lonely? Exactly, this pretty one in the center. Try to spot the rubber boot that doesn't have a pair. Here it is. You must have an eagle eye. Is there an imposter among all these X's? Yup, it's the letter Y. Have you just pressed the hard mode button? Okay, which lion is different from the rest? Right, this king of the jungle is missing one ear. Can you spot a sunflower among all these buzzing bees? Ah, here it is, hiding in the corner. Which avocado is different from the rest? This one. Look at its stone. It must be in love. What's your bet? Is it ava or cado? And now the real game starts. You see most of these logos every day, but how well do you really know them? Do you recognize the logo of the world-famous producer of electronics? The left one looks much more natural, and no wonder, it's the correct logo. How often do you order stuff from Amazon? Let's see. If you pick the right logo, it must be often enough. What a tricky task. These logos look almost the same. And still, the correct one is the Netflix logo on the right. Think hard and tell me, where could you get a yummy sandwich? The correct logo is the one on the right. If you see the other one, you should probably refrain from entering that subway. Now, which is the correct YouTube logo? No cheating! The left one, of course. Which card do you use to pay at your local supermarket? The one on the right, of course. I'm sure this logo is familiar not only to avid coffee fans. The left one is the real Starbucks logo. Who hasn't seen a room of their dreams in IKEA at least once in their life? But which is the correct IKEA logo? it's the right one. Now tell me, how many hours do you spend watching TikTok videos? If you answered that the real TikTok logo is the one on the right, you probably open the TikTok app at least once a day. One of the best snacks out there, but which Pringles logo is the one you see on the box? The mustache guy doesn't have that much hair. The logo on the left is correct. Level up! Which of these guys do you see when you buy your Pringles? Absolutely, it's the one on the left. Let's see if you tend to take pics of literally everything around you to post them on this social media app. The real Instagram logo is the right one. Heh, you must be a real Insta person if you got that right. I'm sure you'll recognize the Pizza Hut logo in no time. Yes, you pizza lover. And of course, it's the one on the left. Okay, we've determined that you're a real fan of pizza, but how about sports? The correct Adidas logo is on the left. And how extreme is your sweet tooth? Will you recognize the real Chupa Chups logo? I knew it was the one on the right. Which of these is the real IBM logo? That was a tricky question. I chose the logo on the right, and it was the right choice. How about this seemingly endless source of knowledge and wisdom? What's the real Wikipedia logo? Yup, it's the one on the left. If you watch MTV often enough, it won't take you long to find its real logo. Yup, it's the right one. How about these logos? Tricky, huh? The real Costa Coffee logo is the one on the right. Now, this question is the trickiest of them all. Which is the correct Brightside logo? Huh? I hope you watch our channel often enough to have picked the light bulb on the right. And, always stay on the bright side of life. And level up. Look at the pictures attentively and try to figure out what's wrong with them. Can you find out what's wrong in this picture? Ah, it's not about the numbers. It's the word mistake that's written incorrectly. Can you spot something really strange in this image? It's a barn. Why would it need a chimney? Examine all the details in this picture and figure out what's wrong with it. Oh, I see. The car doesn't have any license plate. Something is off in this picture, but what exactly? This one seems tough. April 31st? Such a date doesn't exist. How fast can you figure out what's wrong with this picture? The guy must have been dressing in a hurry. He's wearing one regular skate and one roller skate. Which picture is the odd one here? The one with a cat. All other items begin with the letter B, except the kitty. I gotta warn you, be very, very attentive now. Can you find the mistake? Look at this symbol. It's not a 0, it's an O. Oh. If you cracked even 70% of these attention riddles, you're a very, very attentive individual. Now, what was that number again?
There was an incident in a secret laboratory. One of the scientists released a substance that turned people into vampires. Detective Reed arrived at the scene to interview 3 witnesses. The first scientist, Michael, said, "I stopped by the lab this morning to pick up some notes. The machines were working just fine, and I didn't see anyone. I took the papers and left." The second scientist, Lindsay, said, "I closed the lab at night. One of the PCs was faulty, but I was very tired and decided to leave it till the morning. Unfortunately, I overslept." And the third scientist, Jennifer, said, "I got up early and went to the lab to check the devices. No one seems to have entered the room. I fixed one of the computers and left." Which one of them was lying? Michael is lying. One of the computers was actually faulty, and Jennifer spent the whole morning fixing it. If Michael had walked into the lab, he would have known about it, or Jennifer would have noticed him. So he must have entered the lab after the others had already left. But why would someone release such a dangerous substance? Michael didn't want to confess, so Detective Reed decided to investigate the crime scene to find out who was behind this. Take a look at this picture. Is there anything suspicious? It looks like Michael dropped an ID card. And look, it doesn't belong to him. The name on the card is George Wilson. Let's ask him about the incident. Detective Reed went to Mr. Wilson's office to ask him about the incident. "Oh yeah, I gave my pass to Michael," Mr. Wilson said. "But that's only because I had left something in the lab. My glasses. I didn't have time, so I asked Michael to pick them up." Well, that's not a very clever excuse, but how can you prove the man is lying? There's an open glasses case on the table, and the glasses are inside. But Mr. Wilson, didn't you say that you left them in the lab? "Oh, did I say my glasses? Sorry, I meant my papers. I made this mistake because I asked my secretary Shirley to look for my glasses yesterday." Find something to prove Mr. Wilson is lying. There's a calendar on Shirley's desk. Yesterday was her day off. It's marked red. Mr. Wilson is lying. Mr. Wilson was arrested, but people have already begun to turn into vampires. Can you guess who's actually a vampire? The woman on the right. She's putting on her makeup, but do you see? She isn't reflected in the mirror. Meanwhile, those who haven't turned into vampires gather everything they might need to survive. Which of these people is more likely to stay alive? All these supplies won't protect the guy on the right from vampires. As for the girl on the left, she's stocked up on what she can to defeat the vampires. She has a higher chance of survival. Let's check out the subway. There are 2 women here. Which of them is not pregnant? The girl on the left is not pregnant. Look, her belly is of a very strange shape. That's because she has hidden her survival supplies under her clothes. Vampires decided to throw a party. Who among those present is actually an undercover human? The guy on the left is a human. He's wearing makeup and false teeth. Nikki is also trying to survive. She packs her things and decided to move to a neighboring town. But suddenly, a vampire charged at her car. He damages the vehicle and takes away some supplies. Fortunately, he doesn't manage to bite Nikki. She escapes. Nikki has to stay home. The next day, a young man knocks on her door and asks for help. Is it okay to let him in? Nope. He has the same scar on his cheek like the vampire from the day before. Nikki continues to hide at home. One day, some girl starts knocking on her back door. Please help! A pack of vampires is chasing me! Nikki opens the door. The girl is out of breath, but she manages to say, They're almost here! Can I come in? Is it safe to let her in? No! This girl is a vampire. Anyone in this situation would immediately run inside the house, but vampires can't come in without an invitation. Nikki was checking her house and suddenly noticed that there was someone in the attic. She approached the shadows. It was a father and daughter. Please don't kick us out. Sorry, we snuck in without permission. We've been trying to hide from the vampires. The father said, Is it safe to let them stay? Yes, firstly, they're sitting in the sun, but their skin seems to be okay. Secondly, they managed to enter the house without an invitation. That means they're humans. Nikki let them stay. Let's take a little break. Time for some quick riddles. Think fast. A vampire lived in a one-story black cottage. He had a black cat, a black fish, a black computer, a black armchair, a black desk, and a black phone. Everything was black. What color was the staircase? There was no staircase in that house because it was a one-story cottage. 3 vampires are walking fast. The first vampire says, 2 other vampires are walking behind me. The second one says,
1 vampire is walking behind me, and 1 is walking in front of me.
And the third one says, 2 vampires are walking in front of me, and 2 are walking behind me. How is that possible? These vampires are walking in circles. Humans, vampires, and werewolves gathered in one mansion. There are as many werewolves as there are vampires. There are as many vampires as there are humans. How many creatures are there if 3 of them are werewolves? There are 9 creatures in the mansion, 3 werewolves, 3 vampires, and 3 humans. Now let's go back to Nikki and her adventures. Nikki, Peter, and his daughter Becky decided to go to another town together. It takes 2 days to get there. They drove all day until night fell. Now they have 3 options. First, they can continue driving until the morning, despite the fact that they may meet a lot of vampires along the way. Second, they can spend the night in the nearest cave with bats. And third, they can sleep in the car. Which option would be the safest for them? Sleeping in the car is a bad idea. Vampires can sneak up on them in the middle of the night. A night in a cave is also a bad option. Vampires can hide among these bats. The safest option is to keep driving. Although they'll probably meet vampires, they have a chance to survive if they drive faster. They drove really fast and managed to reach the city by the morning. But when they got out of the car, they discovered they were surrounded by vampires. To escape, they need to choose one of 3 roads. On the first road, there's a pack of vampires. They're coming straight at the guys. There are wild hogs on the second road. The third road leads through a dark alley with hundreds of bats. Which of these 3 ways is the safest? The second way is the best option because the sun illuminates it, so vampires can't follow Nikki and her new friends. Plus, these dogs don't look too unfriendly. The guys reach 3 stores. Now they need to decide which of the stores is safe to enter. Nikki, Peter, and Becky look through the windows to see what's inside. The first store is empty, but it seems to be full of traps. The second store is full of survivors, but they look dangerous. And the third store seems empty as well, but it's completely dark there, and you can't see anything except for dozens of bats. Where should Nikki lead her friends? The first store is the safest. If Nikki, Peter, and Becky notice these traps, then the chances are high they'll be able to avoid them. It's worth a try. There's a man in the city who's trying to survive by hiding among vampires. Nikki spent a week photographing vampires to figure out who he was. Will you be able to see who is actually human in these photos? You can see this man has all 4 photos. In one of the photos, he's eating garlic bread, and in this one, his leg is exposed to the sun. He's only pretending to be a vampire. Nikki and the others decided to invite this man to join their group. The man was delighted and said that his name was Douglas. He was a journalist looking for safe places for people. He suggested creating a password that only humans could figure out. They came up with this one: HAWUH. Can you guess why? If you look at the reflection of this word in the mirror, you will see Huwan, or Huwan. Flip the letter W and you get the word human. But only those who get reflected in the mirror will be able to solve this puzzle. Nikki and her friends settle down in this town. Can you guess which of these houses belongs to Nikki, in which Peter and Becky live, and in which Douglas has chosen? House number 1 belongs to Peter and Becky. There are 2 bicycles next to it. House number 2 belongs to the journalist. Do you see his equipment? And the remaining house, house number 3, belongs to Nikki. Whose wife is a vampire? This guy's wife is a vampire because she only came to the party after sunset. Whose husband is a werewolf? The girl on the left is sweeping up her cat's hair. See? There's a cat in the background. Meanwhile, there are scratches on the floor and walls in the house of the girl on the right. And this shoe has a torn front. Her husband must be a werewolf. Whose wife is actually a ghost? The woman on the right is wearing a ghost costume. It's Halloween. But the woman on the left is a real ghost because we can't see her legs under the sheet. Whose husband is actually a zombie? The man on the left is just sick. The man on the right is a zombie because he's the only one who doesn't eat human food and has an empty plate. Water lilies grow on the lake. Every day, their number doubles. The lilies will completely cover the entire surface of the lake in 48 days. How many days will it take them to cover half of the lake? 47 days. You see, every day the number of the water lilies doubles. On day 48, the lake will be completely covered with lilies. It means that on day 47, there will be twice as few lilies as on day 48. Jack noticed that someone regularly ruins his lawn. He decided to install a hidden camera and figure out who approached his house most often. After 4 days, he decided to check the footage and immediately realized who the culprit was. Can you guess who it is? Jack's neighbor Karen ruins his lawn. She's present in all the photos, but she tries to disguise herself so that she can't be recognized. A woman didn't have her driver's license with her. She didn't stop at a railroad crossing when the barrier was lowered. Then, ignoring the stop sign, she moved in the wrong direction along a one-way street and stopped only after passing 3 intersections. Traffic police officers, seeing all this, decided not to interfere. Why? The woman first traveled by train and then walked. Mary is trying to enter an ice castle to save her friend Logan, but there's a combination lock on the gate. Luckily, there's a clue carved on the ice. Here it is. 162. One number is correct and in the right place. 842. 2 numbers are correct, but in the wrong place. 526. Nothing is correct. Can you guess the code? The passcode is 184. First, we exclude 2 and 6, since in 526, no number is correct. In 842, 2 numbers are correct, so 2 of the numbers we need are 8 and 4. The last number must be 1, and since 1 is in its place, we can easily figure out where 8 and 4 must go. Mary opens the gate and enters the castle. She walks down an icy corridor and comes across 3 doors. There is a severe snowstorm behind the first door. In the second room, there's a dangerous snow dragon. And behind the third door, there's a lake covered with a layer of dark blue ice. Which door should Mary choose? The dragon is a definite no-no. The dark blue ice is thin and unsafe. Mary is likely to just fall into the lake. The first door is the best option. Mary crosses the room and finds herself in a long corridor. The Ice Queen's monsters start chasing her. The girl runs down the hallway and sees another 3 doors made of clear ice. There's a magical snow parrot in the first room. The second room is filled with water. And there's a small black room behind the third door. It looks more like a locker. Which door should Mary hide behind to avoid being found? The Ice Queen's parrot behind the first door will scream when it sees Mary. The third door is a bad option because the doors are made of clear ice, so the monsters will spot her immediately. The second door is the best option. Mary swims away and finds herself in a big hall. She sees Logan, and they're about to run away together when the Ice Queen captures them in a cage. There are 3 levers next to the cage, and the Ice Queen gives Mary these hints. The first lever is going to open the cage, but they'll fall into a freezing cold underground lake. The second lever will open all the cages in the castle and release all the monsters that are inside. The third lever will open the cage, but only 1 person will be able to get out. What should the guys do? They should pull the third lever and let Logan out. After that, they should pull the first lever. Mary will fall into the water, but Logan will help her get out of the lake. John decided to make a vegetable salad for his friends. To prepare for it, he will need 3 peppers and the same number of tomatoes. And he needs fewer cucumbers than tomatoes, but more than radishes. How many different vegetables will John use in the salad? .3 peppers, 3 tomatoes, 2 cucumbers, and 1 radish. A professor went to have his lunch break, leaving 3 students in the lecture hall. When he returned, he realized that an answer sheet for an important exam had disappeared from his desk. He questioned the students. Kyle said, "10 minutes after you'd left, my mom called me and asked me to meet with her near the college building. When I returned, the sheet was already gone." Brian said,
No one called Kyle. He took something from your desk and left.
and Ryan said, "Brian is telling the truth. When we realized that it was an answer sheet, we ran after him outside, but he had already left." Who should the professor believe? Ryan and Brian are lying. They said they had run after Kyle outside, but it was raining and they're both dry. Which of these artists is suspicious? The girl on the right has been using orange paint, not red. Then why do her clothes have red stains? Who is suspicious at this party? The second girl marked this glass to know which of them contained poison. Which of these students is suspicious? Student 3 only pretends to be writing. He's actually reading a magazine. Which of these women is suspicious? The woman on the right is only pretending to be pregnant. A prince married a simple girl and brought her to the palace. His mother, the queen, didn't like it at all. She started watching the girl and discovered that she secretly took some jewelry out of the palace and hid it in the ground under an oak tree. The queen immediately went to the prince and told him about it. The prince checked under the oak tree and actually found the jewels. His wife started begging him, "My prince, I swear, I didn't steal it for myself. I'm leaving the jewelry here so that my family can pick it up later." But the queen said, "She's lying to you. She hides the jewelry here because she wants to sell it when she runs away from the palace." Who's lying? The girl's lying. No one forbids her to visit her family or give them whatever they need openly. She hides it because she'll need the money after running away. John had a lunch break, so he went to the butcher to buy some meat. He asked the butcher to cut the meat in a specific way. The butcher asked if John was a firefighter. John said yes. How did the butcher guess John's profession? John was still wearing his uniform when he went on his lunch break. Mary went to the forest to pick some berries and mushrooms. Sometime later, the girl realized she had gotten lost. Suddenly, she heard the trees crackling behind her back. There was a monster approaching. Mary ran as fast as she could and managed to get away from the monster. She saw a small house and went inside. An elderly lady lived in the house. She said she would help Mary, but Mary immediately realized that this lady was a shapeshifter. She was the monster in the forest. How did Mary know that? Have you noticed that the elderly woman has the same symbol on her hand as the monster had? Luckily, it turned out that the woman was not actually evil. She helped Mary to get out of the forest. The elderly lady from the forest has 3 cats: Snowball, Bella, and Lisa. They usually sleep on 3 different pillows: yellow, pink, and blue. Bella likes sleeping on the pink pillow. Snowball never chooses either pink or blue. Think about it and try to guess which pillow each of the cats sleeps on. Bella sleeps on the pink pillow, Snowball lies on the yellow one, and Lisa sleeps on the blue one. Now it's time to think fast. Why is Santa Claus so good at karate? Because he has a black belt, duh. What bear has no teeth? Marmalade bear. How can you make a rattlesnake cry? Take the rattle away. You're the headmaster of a fun sciences school. Today is the final day of the semester. You have to handle all upcoming problems and make sure all the students will pass the difficult exams. All teachers except for the professor of memology are waiting in their classrooms. You walk through the school corridors, greet the students, and go to your office. You have a separate drawer where you put all the keys to all the school doors. You throw the office key there, sit down at the table, and notice that some documents have disappeared. Someone has stolen the answers to a video games test. But how did they get into your office? The door and windows were closed. Take a look at the ventilation gate. It's slightly open. Apparently, one of the students broke in there early in the morning. Your secretary is knocking on the door. You say that you're busy and ask to come later. Then, you sit down at your computer, open YouTube, and watch funny videos. The internet signal disappears. Someone has turned off the electricity at the school. You go to the basement with generators. There, you see a turned off switch and 3 people standing next to it. They all say they didn't touch anything, but one of them is lying. The janitor says the lights went out when he came here to clean up. Louise is a new student. She says she was lost in the building and accidentally got here. Richard is a last-year graduate. He came here to find a miniature toy horse, a souvenir he hid many years ago. Which one of them is lying? The janitor has a bucket and mop, so he's not lying. You see a horse in the corner of the room, so Richard is telling the truth. Louise is a liar. She said she's new, but it's the end of the semester. She can't be new at this time. You're the headmaster, and you would know in advance if there was a new student at your school. Louise admits she turned off the electricity to disrupt the sleep science exam. You turn the power back on and go to the dining room to have breakfast. You order coffee, sit down at the table, and meet an angry chef. He says that one of the students poured a bag of sugar into a pot of soup. You're looking around the room. Who do you think did this among all these guys? They all have deep plates with soup and spoons, but this guy has a plate with a fork. He wouldn't eat the soup because he knew it tasted disgusting. You finish your coffee and head to the office. You walk through a long corridor and see graffiti on a huge photo of a crazy dog, a mascot of the school. The guard catches 3 students. One of them must have ruined the image. Can you guess who did it? Here's a guy hiding his hands. Indeed, there are traces of paint on them. You're walking through the internet history room where an exam has just started. There's silence in the audience. Students are writing a test, but one of them is cheating. Find them. Look at this girl. A wire stretches from her sleeve to her ear. Someone is giving her the right answers through her headphones, and that guy is looking at the answers written on his leg. Someone activates the alarm. All students run out of the school. You make sure that everyone is outside. You head to the exit and notice there is no flame anywhere. You can't even smell the smoke. Someone turned on the alarm to disrupt the exams. You catch 3 students. One of them is guilty. But who? Alex says he was in the toilet when the panic started. Amanda was taking a meme test. Luke was sleeping in the dining room. Which one of them is lying? Amanda turned on the siren. The memology professor isn't there, remember? So she obviously wasn't taking that test today. You go outside and meet the school gardener. He says that someone has cut the roses in the schoolyard. The gardener saw 3 people who could be suspects. You bring them into the yard and ask about roses. Lewis says he was in the library all day. Mary was taking an exam on internet history. John was training at the gym. Which one of them is lying? Look at Louis. His sleeves are torn. Roses have thorns. He probably damaged the shirt when he was cutting the flowers off. You pass by the dining room and hear some strange noises. Someone is obviously tired and breathing heavily. You look inside and see two guys at the table. They're arm wrestling. One of them looks angry and aggressive. He's shaking his hand and trying his best. The other is calm. Who do you think will win? The guy on the right. He holds onto the edge of the table and doesn't waste his strength on unnecessary movements. He will defeat the angry opponent. You enter the trends room. You heard a lot about this subject and a young teacher who has a unique approach to the science of popularity. She tells you that she has asked all her students to create a new profile in the social network for their pets at the beginning of the semester. Now, all the students must show the number of subscribers and likes. The one who has the most popular profile will get a high score on the exam. Students show photos of their pets: mini pig, hamster, cat, goldfish, chameleon, dog, goose, hamster, raccoon. All the photos are pretty popular, but two of them are fake. Which ones? The hamsters. Two students have identical photos. They must have found those online. You're observing a pseudo-philosophy exam. The teacher gives blank sheets of paper to all students. Then he says,
There's a lot of supposedly philosophical phrases on the internet that seem too pretentious, obvious, and stupid. People love to attribute quotes to famous persons that they never said. So there's a person who can say anything that can be true or false. They can say both good and bad things, and no one in the world can prove that this person didn't say that. The authorship of this person is unquestionable. Who is this person?
After 5 minutes, the students give back their papers. They all have names of famous athletes, scientists, billionaires, and entrepreneurs on them. No one has passed the exam except for one girl. She wrote just one word. Which one? Anonymous. You walk around the school and hear someone screaming. Several students are running away from the biology classroom. They say a poisonous snake has escaped from the terrarium, and now it's crawling in the room. It's too dangerous to have lessons here. You call the rescuers, but to catch the snake, you need to find it. Look around carefully and find the reptile. Take a look at the picture with snakes in the far corner of the room. One of these snakes is real, as its tail goes beyond the painting. Your next problem is in the parking lot. The professor of magic tells you that someone has punctured a tire on her car. Apparently, one of the students took revenge on the teacher for a bad grade on the exam. Fortunately, there's an extra tire in the trunk. But here's the problem. You don't have 4 bolts to attach it. How can you help the teacher? Unscrew one bolt from the other 3 wheels and attach them to the new one. Each of the 3 wheels has 3 bolts now. That's enough to get to the nearest car service. You come to your office to take a nap, but hear a sudden cracking noise. You find pieces of glass in the yard. Someone has broken a window on the 3rd floor with a stone. You need to figure out who did this among 3 suspects: a cook, a gardener, and a student. The cook says he was in the kitchen making burgers. The gardener claims that he was watering the roses in the garden. The student says he was sitting in the library at the time. Which one of them is lying? The gardener. One of the students has cut those roses, remember? So the gardener didn't have any roses to water. Finally, the day is coming to an end. All students have passed their exams and are going home. You walk through a long corridor and hear a knock. Several people are stuck in the gym and can't get out. They've lost their keys, and the door only opens from the outside. You need to help them, but where can you find the keys? You have the drawer in your office with the keys to all the school doors, remember? You unlock the gym. Then, you finally sit in your office and watch YouTube. You have solved all the problems. You deserve a good rest now.